Hello and welcome to another edition of Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along. My name is Neil Parekh. I am the guest host today. We have a great show planned for today, and we'll just remove that uh, other camera. Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. That's much better. My name is Neil Parekh. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and our Digimentors website. We are so glad to be here. We love the community that has been built up over 10 years of doing the show. We want to make sure that folks are hearing us. So if you do have any audio issues, please let us know. We always rely on our audience to help us out and keep us honest. We are going to cover several topics today and some really interesting topics. But right from the get-go, I want to make sure that we are sharing some important information for you. You can download the PDFs of two special sections from this week's Sunday New York Times for free from our website, digimentors.group, New York Times Read Along, Puzzle Mania, including the super mega crossword, and the holiday gift guide, the New York Times holiday gift guide. So make sure you go to our website to find those. We will be covering several important topics, and they include the latest on Ukraine in terms of the negotiations there, the AI boom, or is it a bubble, and the latest on President Trump and what I call the three M's: Mamdani, MBS, and MTG. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to getting into this week's show. Let's go ahead and welcome some of the folks that are watching and say our hellos. Patricia Freudenberg offers grace and greetings from New York. Thank you, Patricia. And Jonathan Borstein says greetings from the puzzling East Village. Jonathan, I'm curious about what that means. What is puzzling about the East Village? Doug Levy says good morning from the San Francisco area. Patricia Freudenberg clarifies that she can hear just fine. So thank you very much, Patricia. Always appreciate that. And who else do we have watching? Gunther is watching from Vienna. Gunther, thank you so much. We always appreciate the international presence. And certainly, Gunther, let us know what articles you're paying attention to. What news stories are dominating the news in Central Europe? My mom is saying hi from Hastings-on-Hudson. Hi, Mom. How are you? Stephen Kaplan, close friend. Good morning via New Jersey Transit. Watching on his phone, I'm sure, on his way to the city. So listening. Have a great Sunday. And that's a great reminder, Stephen. I appreciate you mentioning that. A lot of folks listen to the show. They aren't able to watch the video in real time. And that's a great reminder about the fact that we have launched our shows on Spotify, so that after the show is over, we upload the video. You can watch a video on Spotify, but you can also listen to the podcast, and you can also you can get it on other platforms, including Apple Podcasts. So we will do everything we can to describe what we're seeing and not just rely on the visual. That's always a best practice in general. But thank you for the reminder, Stefan. Ken Fisher is watching, saying hello, friends, and happy Sunday from Iowa. And he throws in a y'all for good measure. My sister is up early in Bellevue, Washington. Amy, thank you for joining. It should be an interesting conversation. I am sure that you are watching on your phone, and you're probably still curled up. It's 5:30 a.m. Pacific time. You and Doug Levy and a few others are part of that West Coast crowd. We have Nikita watching from India, lives in Baltimore, but currently visiting New York City. So thank you for clarifying all the places that you call home or that you're where you're spending time and watching on YouTube. I'm curious, Nikita, are you watching on um, YouTube horizontally or vertically? Because one of the things that we can do now with our show is uh, we're horizontal, right? Like this on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, our website, and YouTube. We're also on live on Scroll's website. I'll talk about Scroll in just a minute, but we're also vertical. So for folks watching on Instagram, you get a full vertical feed, and we also have YouTube Shorts. So curious of how you're experiencing the show. Jonathan clarifies puzzling because of no clear borders and increasingly no clear identity. Jonathan making a political statement early in the morning about New York neighborhood boundaries. Thank you for the clarification. Paula Kiger says, good morning from Tallahassee, Florida, our longtime producer of the show. Thank you, Paula, for joining us. Sujana Chandrasekhar is saying, good morning. Watched the miniseries on President Garfield this week and read Heather Cox Richardson's piece today. Put some of the shenanigans in DC in perspective. Sujan, I'm with you halfway. I watched the James Garfield piece, Death by Lightning, if I'm not mistaken, and I thought it was fabulous. And another great example, Hamilton, of course, is the first one. There's no hip hop connection, but the connection is taking a relatively not quite unknown, but a less often told story. Alexander Hamilton did not have the same profile as the other founding fathers, even though he was the $10 founding father. And James Garfield as one of the presidents who was assassinated early in our history in the late 1800s, before the Secret Service had really developed their role in protecting the presidents, even though this was after Lincoln had been shot. But it was a fascinating look at the history of how he became elected and how his vice president and New York politics. If anyone hasn't seen it, I certainly endorse it. Ron Thomas is saying, offering greetings from Dubai. Ron, always a pleasure to have you. Amy says she loves Heather Cox Richardson as well. I do too when I get a chance to read it and see people sharing it a lot. And then Nikita reference says she's watching horizontally on YouTube. Thank you. Gunther says, I would say dominating the news in Central Europe. Austria is where he's based. Is now the story about a possible peace in Ukraine, peace plan, and I'm putting in air quotes as well. We will talk about that a little bit today as well. And Sujana says she was wishing for a different outcome when she got to know Garfield. So those are just a couple of quick hellos, and we'll certainly come back to them later. We want to make sure that folks are able to watch the show, to catch the show on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. We're going to share it on my Twitter as well in real time. So once we do that, we will be off and running. A couple of quick announcements, and I want to make sure folks see these before we turn to the paper. Very excited that we are able to share Puzzle Mania. Puzzle Mania is the annual, puzzle special section from the New York Times. We have the PDF on our website. If you go to digimentors.group, NYTReadalong, and find today's show, you can download the PDF. It has the super mega crossword and a whole host of other puzzles. We also have the New York Times gift guide, the holiday gift guide, and you can also get that from our website as well. So go to digimentors.group/NYTReadalong, find today's show, and you'll get those two PDFs. I do want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors, Muck and the Graphic History Company. Thank you so much for your support. Muck is a longtime supporter of the Read Along, and Graphic History Company came on just recently after we restarted the show. A quick note about Graphic History Company: the volume 2 of the Graphic History of Hip Hop will be coming soon. You can sign up for updates at graphichistorycompany.com on their website, graphichistorycompany.com. I definitely encourage you to do that. And as a reminder, for the folks who are familiar with Shining Light on Shadows, the mental health show that I do, was it last week even, or 2 weeks ago rather? We did a great show on perimenopause and mental health with 3 guests instead of just one, as we usually do. And that was on November 13th in partnership with the National Menopause Foundation. And we're going to be following that up in December with the show on postmenopause and mental health. And we'll have Dr. Ellen Robertson join us again from the National Menopause Foundation, and Tess Rondo, who is a small business owner, and Candace Sanchez, who is the host of Unspoken Conversations with Candace. Keep an eye out for those shows, for that show, rather. I think it'll be worth your time. So with that, we are going to switch gears and take a look at the newspaper. We have, like I said, a lot to cover in today's show, and we will get to it, and we will keep an eye on your comments so that we can still make you keep you a part of the proceedings. So let's switch over, and there we go. There's the newspaper, and we have the front page. We'll go through the front page stories, and then we'll also take a look at what is in the rest of the other sections before we proceed. Just a quick hello. We have someone saying hello on YouTube. It looks like they're watching vertically. Finlanders or FN Landers. Hi, thank you very much. John Lee is saying copy in hand, joining from New York City. Diane Stefani is watching from a sunny Margate, New Jersey, and that's great. So let's go ahead and jump into the newspaper. The display story: 2 men, 1 identity. Stolen papers used for migrants' work. Dan Kluver found that a man in another state was using his name and his social security number. That is going to be an interesting story to read, given the immigration battles we're facing right now. The lead story, of course, on the right-hand side: exit by Green, sign of future for the GOP. That's a news analysis. Trump flexes muscles even as fissures form. And of course, assuming you caught the news over the last several days, especially in the wake of the vote on the Epstein files, Marjorie Taylor Greene was pushing the president on that issue, one of several members of Congress. And then just suddenly on Thursday night, she announced that she was going to be, or Friday night, I think it was, announced that she was going to resign from Congress in January. An abrupt exit. So we'll definitely take a look at that. The other story we're tracking: tech insiders feeling skittish over AI boom. That's the headline right there. Spending soars, but so do debt and risk, and that is continued on 21. That's the story in the A book, but there's also a business story as well. The below the fold: from the tomb, Spain's dictator fires up youth. So Francisco Franco died 50 years ago, but apparently he's still inspiring today's youth, which is very troubling. And then this is an article that our friends at the Times definitely flagged for me: how learning a dying craft helped one man fix his life. This is a typewriter filling a shop in Bremerton, Washington. I used to live in Seattle, Washington. My sister's in Bellevue, so not far from Bremerton. 11 years ago, Paul Lundy was dying a slow working man's death under fluorescent light. For 3 decades, he had worked in facilities management and honest trade that ground him down until in his mid-50s, he had money, an authoritative title, and a soul that was being sucked dry. Wow, what a great lead. He managed buildings for the Seattle area biotech firms where people in lab coats made discoveries. So we'll take a look at that later. I do want to look at the bottom here, the reefers, as they're called, left out by tap to pay with the change to as fewer people carry cash, vendors, street performers, and people experiencing homelessness and unemployment are at a disadvantage. I'm going to ask our friends in the New York City area, particularly with the change on the subway, not using Metro cards anymore, right? What has that been like for you? Sunday business, new worry for Bitcoin traders. The holiday gift guide, as we referenced earlier. And then special section, big clue, there's lots to solve. This is about Puzzle Mania. And Sunday opinion, it's interesting to me that they show the reefer for the Sunday opinion with just the name of the author, Sarah Wildman, without saying anything about the piece. Now, Sarah Wildman is a alumni of Wesleyan University, a friend of ours, and she married a very good friend, Ian Halpern, and she has an incredible personal story as well, which we'll get to when we take a look at the opinion section. Arts and leisure, a dancer is a body and a mind. After decades of neglecting emotional health, ballet companies and schools are taking steps to prioritize the whole artist. That's certainly something I'm interested in terms of my work as a mental health advocate. We'll definitely take a look at that a little bit later. We have the Puzzle Mania section, which we'll take a look at. Again, you can get the PDF on our website. If you go to digitwinters.group, NYTReadalong, you can get the PDF and download it, and there's no restrictions in terms of how long it'll be available, so feel free to take your time. The holiday gift guide is here as well, so we'll take a look at that. The Sunday opinion section, and this is the article I was telling you about by Sarah Wildman. The headline, this mother followed the rules, ICE jailed her anyway. So this will be an important story to read. Sunday business, I mentioned there was another AI story. If AI crashes, what happens? And that's a gleaming building. It looks like almost a side view, but it looks like a top view as well. What happens to the economy is the rest of that headline. And it says the data center boom is overshadowing weakness in other industries. So we'll take a look at that. Sunday styles, multitudes of fashion. In Hong Kong, residents and visitors from all over give the city a diverse visual flavor. Book review. Now, this is, I think, is always interesting when they do interesting things, fun things with the layout. So they have a picture in the center, but then text running around the side. Our shared interest, obviously, in a bigger font. I'm going to have to lean in to see what it says. In a new essay collection, Zadie Smith, again, reading this way, offers, so they skip the big word, offers her observations on artists, technology, and a vanishing public commons. And then the author is in the top right. So interesting layout there. And the New York Times Magazine. Now, when you look at it, you really can't tell what's going on. Looks like someone is in an embrace, maybe in a kiss. You can't quite tell what's going on. And even the text is a very faint contrast. How will the soaring rise of antidepressant drugs among teenagers affect their sexual development? This is definitely interesting, and that's the fade out is the way they title that. So if you can see that right there, that's interesting. How will the soaring use of antidepressant drugs in teenagers affect their development? So that's what we have. That's our little tour of the paper. And we will continue to go through that. I want to just make sure that we recognize our partners, that Sree's Sunday New York Times Read Along is produced in partnership with Scroll and Scroll Global, one of India's most important independent websites. I certainly encourage you to check them out and check out the coverage that they offer. As far as any other comments, Sujana says that it's hard to find cash on her person to tip or give. I don't carry cash either. Occasionally, we keep some cash around because sometimes we need to give it to Emily when she goes out. Jonathan says, I don't like the whole cashless approach. In addition to questions of surveillance, it's just plain inconvenient. Um, and Sojana says, Jonathan and I are meant to live surreptitiously. Gunther, I'm curious about, since you're here, maybe you can offer an international perspective. What is the, how widespread is the cashless economy in Austria and other parts of Europe, or if folks have traveled there, maybe you can share with us what your experience has been. I know folks who have traveled to Asia. I think Amy has been to Asia recently. So curious to see what you can tell us. All right, so and then the other thing I'd like to point out is with the front page section. So the New York Times at the printing plant at College Point can print 45 pages in a section, but around the country, the paper is printed through partners. Here in Washington, D.C., it's the Washington Post. For Seattle, it's the Seattle Times. You know, you'd figure the bigger papers would have bigger papers would have the printing plants they need, but they can't print the full section as designed. So there's always like an insert for the continuation of the A-book. And sometimes I know that they intentionally think about what article should go there. And in this case, it's the continuation of the AI story. AI is booming, but technology insiders can't shake their worries. That's the continuation from the front page. When people are flipping through a paper, those are the stories that will stand out. You'll take a look, oh, what's in the front page? You may not open the front page. Oh, but you see this. Oh, interesting. And you'll kind of flip around to find different articles. All right, so let's see what's in the rest of the paper. On page A2 and A3, the story behind the story, which is always my favorite story. It's the Times Insider column. When the path to protect children isn't so clear. A podcast by Serial Productions brings to light families' claims of misdiagnosed child abuse. That is an interesting story. A headline from history that's always fun to read. A 107 safe as jet hits bay in the West. A Japan Airlines DC-8. This is from 1968. Japan Airlines DC-8 jet landed on a mudbank in the San Francisco Bay, about 3 miles short of San Francisco's airport. I remember seeing that on social media. There are pieces about that and about how the pilot handled that. The Dateline, where Times journalists are reporting from around the world, and they highlight this week Charlotte, North Carolina. We had last week Mary C. Curtis, a former guest on the show and journalist, was talking about the Border Patrol and ICE activities in Charlotte last week. So if she's watching, I'm hoping we might get an update on what's going on there. Times reporters are also in Ogijo, Nigeria, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Peter Goodman is there for a year-long investigation visiting Nigerian villages where factories that recycle lead for American car and battery companies are poisoning workers and residents. There's also a journalist out in Norway, saw a performance of Lapon/Lost, a ballet about an uprising of the indigenous Sami people in 1852. And then there's a journalist in Dazai, China, Andrew Higgins traveled to Dazai, a tiny village that since the days of Mao Zedong has transformed from a beacon of rural anti-capitalist fervor into a hive of capitalist commerce. In times past, this is a David Dunlap column exploring an artifact from New York Times history, a traveling typewriter. So they have this in the museum there. Designed by the artist Marcello Nizzoli, the Olivetti Lettera 32 typewriter exemplifies the aesthetic sensibility of mid-century Italy. It is smooth, it is sleek, it is surprising too, coming in teal instead of black. It's in the collections of the Museum of Modern Art in New York and San Francisco Museum. But that's not why there's one in the museum at the Times. The explanation can be found in a quotation from the book Frankie's Place. And this shows a reporter working on that typewriter in Indonesia. All right. Here to help, this is a service journalism from the New York Times. Techniques to help you deal with your emotions. Again, more of a focus on mental health. And this story, the article outlines: recognize we experience a nonstop flow of emotions. Understand after you acknowledge that you're feeling an emotion that demands your attention. Sit with it and be curious about it. Label it, express it, and then regulate it. That's very interesting. That last one in particular, regulate it. I've mentioned on the show before and have talked about it on my mental health show that I was diagnosed with adult ADHD or ADHD as an adult last year at the age of 51. And regulating is the big challenge for folks. For people with ADHD, often it's not the stereotypical 10-year-old bouncing off the wall type of ADHD. It's more being hyper focused or not able to focus, being exhausted because you're running so fast. So that's something, it's easy to get dysregulated by events and circumstances. I'll definitely be checking this out, this piece. Let's see what else we have. The international section. This article focuses on a drop in demand pinches brewers in Germany. Yes, Germany again. A drop in demand in Germany. Gunther, I'm hoping there isn't a drop in demand in Austria. But he does weigh in on the cashless society question that we had earlier. I can only speak for Austria. I would say the cashless approach is quite widespread here. I'm trying to avoid cash as much as possible, and it works, with the exception of tips for the mailman and such. Fair point. Thank you very much, Gunther. Appreciate that. As a reminder, let us know where you're watching from and tag your friends. Even if you just want to say hello, let us know that you're there. We can see that people are watching, but unless you put a comment in, we won't know. And I'm also going to take a quick look and see we have several folks watching on Instagram as well. So thank you for everyone watching on whatever channel you're watching on. Let's see, what else do we have here in the front page section? That's it. Here's a little story, bottom of the page on page 4, but Bolsonaro arrested, tampering with ankle monitor is reported. So Bolsonaro, Jair Bolsonaro, the former president of Brazil, who attempted a coup when he lost the election. It's interesting to see that there's actually a follow-up there. Okay, here is more on Trump. And here in his year of hopscotch, Trump again lands on Putin's side. That's right. If you've been following, he started off, I think, on day one, saying he was going to end the war in Ukraine in a day. Was very pro-Putin for several months. Then all of a sudden, and had a disastrous meeting with Zelensky. Then came back and seemed like he was supporting Zelensky and putting pressure on Putin. And now he's back with this quote unquote peace deal, this land for peace, which scared almost everyone in terms of the implications of that deal. Follow the bouncing ball. We don't know where it will land. We have and then agonizing wait in Ukraine has hoped to find strike survivors stays. That's from the latest drone strike, if I'm not mistaken. G20 leaders push back on the Russia-friendly plan that Trump suggested. Here's a full-page ad on the right, so we will take a look at that. You'll see it in terms of, for most folks watching horizontally, I'll have to go on top half and bottom half. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, and liberty, justice, respect. This is all an ad for MS Now, which is the rebranded network of MSNBC. For folks watching on our vertical platforms, I'm going to zoom out for you. You get almost a full view of the page as it's and the wide shot also almost shows the full page. You show both pages thereabout. Great. So let's see what else we have. A nice a centerfold ad. Fast Laps Faster Network. That is, again, that's kind of hard to show on both at the same time, but I'm doing my best pulling it up. This is an ad for AT&T as America's fastest network. It's always an important point. When you see ads in the paper, that's a good thing. People still find that is valuable to advertise in the New York Times. It's not a failing newspaper. More international news: the priest blessing Venezuela's strongman. Poisoning deaths is suspected in 4 deaths in Turkey. And then still reeling from heist, the Louvre looks ahead. Museum leader defends renovation plan. And this is the story about Francisco Franco in Spain. From his tomb after 50 years, the dictator is firing up Spain's youth. National stories: the councilwoman intervened in an ICE arrest. Then she faced the voters. And what does it say what happened? It says it's a close finish. We'd have to read to the end to see what happened in that election. Farms with Harvest of Power and Produce in Alaska. This is part of their 50 States, 50 Fixes series on the environment and cutting emissions in a roundabout way. This is in Keene, New Hampshire. He's a roundabout evangelist. Let's see. FBI trainee says he was fired for hanging a pride flag near his desk. Here's an interesting story that college humanities are subject of revamp. And more. Now we start looking in politics. This is coverage. North Carolina actions by the Border Patrol divide a swing state, a Democratic governor, but a very Republican legislature. And this is the story. This made it to the bottom here. Green says she will retire from the House in January. Now, one thing and then resignation of Green is sign of GOP's future. So that's the analysis piece. One thing I thought was interesting that in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, started planning for this show. I was thinking that some of the top stories would be the video that several members of Congress shared, effectively telling members of the military that if they get an illegal order from President Trump, they could ignore it. President Trump responded by saying, in not so many words and on social media, effectively saying that they should be hanged for sedition. That story is not in the paper over by Sunday. So just interesting how fast the news cycle goes. And this is the back page is an ad for Tiffany, and you see a strip on the bottom as well for Tiffany. There you go. That's the front page. And the A-book, that little A-book section, forgot. So I'll take a look at that and then see if there are any other additional comments that have come in. This is a 2-page article, so it's interesting from the front page about 2 men, separate lives, one identity. This is where someone was using someone's identity. And this is the typewriter story. So not the historical one, but just on the front page. Learning a dying craft helped one man fix his life. But what beautiful photography of that typewriter right there. And this is the caption top typewriters for sale and repair fill Paul Lundy's shop in Bremerton, Washington, above from Wright Lundy in 2015 with Bob Montgomery, his teacher. So that's interesting. And then this is more photography from the article, their window, and then a final test on that typewriter. And in outside New York, the sports section is tucked in to the A book. It's not a standalone section, so we get just a couple of pages of sports. And of course, the New York Times relies on the Athletic for its sports coverage. So some of these stories are more essays than game coverage, if you will. Here's a house ad reporting from 50 states and 150 countries, bringing expertise to important stories and pursuing the truth under pressure, following the facts wherever they lead, fighting for the public's right to know. Great statement from the New York Times. And then we get into the obits. Ward Landrigan, entrepreneur and jeweler to the stars, dies at 84. Bert Meyer, who invented a toy box full of fun for a quarter century. So that is the rest of the A-book. I am going to take a quick moment as we look at the front page. I should turn this around. Front page of the arts and leisure section. Mom, I'm off camera, but I'm taking a drink of water. You may have heard that going down. We always need someone to remind us to drink water when we're talking a lot, and my mom does that for me for every show I do. Let's see, what other comments have come in since we were talking? Sujana says she found us on YouTube. Thank you, Sujana. Appreciate that. And what else? We have Deborah Kerr is watching from a sunny, beautiful Fort Lauderdale. Love the new format. Thank you, Deborah. John Lee is saying page 20 typewriter repair story. Absolutely. We just saw that. Sorry, I'm catching up on comments. Gunther says, I can only speak for Austria. I would say, oh, this is on the cashless approach. We got that comment earlier. And we have a comment from NRX45R saying at least Trump is trying to help end the war. That is an opinion. You can say that, but on what terms and to what impact? I remember seeing a phrase, and I can't remember whether it was in the news or on social media, but it likened the peace plan to the idea of the judge telling the rapist and the survivor of a rape to make up on terms favorable to the rapist. And that's just something you should think about in terms of Russia having invaded Ukraine and then getting a favorable deal for their efforts. My mom is leaving a comment. Sudha Parekh, there's a religious disparity in Nigeria. And the result, young kids are abducted from the Christian school. The oldest child was 10 years old. That's the story that the New York Times is following in Nigeria. So keep the comments coming. Let us know what you're reading and what you're paying attention to, and we will certainly work them in. A dancer is a body and a mind. So this is the mental health story that I referenced earlier when we took a look at the front pages. So we'll take a look at that. That's on page 6. I'm going to flip directly to that. And let's see here. There we go. So it's a page and a half. A pivot to therapy addresses health, but it should say addresses health or addresses mental health. Companies and schools focusing on the dancers' well-being, both physical and emotional, as part of a new spirit of openness about these issues. I'm assuming that they were focusing on physical health historically. It's mental health that they're adding now. So they have some subheads: the mirror and mental health. That's certainly body image issues, of course, and then a section on the whole body. Um, the importance of starting early and moving forward, and how am I here again? So this is certainly worth taking a closer look at on how the companies are addressing mental health for their dancers. Okay, with that, let's take some time. We have about 15 minutes left in the show, 18 minutes or so. Puzzle Mania. As a reminder, you can get Puzzle Mania from our website if you go to digimentors.group NYTReadalong and find today's show. Click on the link, and if you scroll down, you'll see links to download both the PDF of Puzzle Mania and the gift guide, which will come next. So, Puzzle Mania, we had great shows with Deb Amlin last year, and 2 years ago, Greg Pliska, a puzzle maker. Deb Amlin is a New York Times Games columnist that walked us through Puzzle Mania. And for if you like, I'm curious about who likes puzzles, who does more than just the crossword, because they've got everything you can imagine. And they have a note from the editor that I'll just read real quick. Welcome to the 11th edition of Puzzle Mania, your annual holiday puzzle extravaganza. This year's edition celebrates the best of New York Times games, old and new. You will find classic favorites like Spiral, Split Decisions, and Acrostic alongside debut creations like Red Herring Connections, the pictorial spin on the popular digital game, voice commands, a step-by-step instructions puzzle from Sam Azursky, and Odd Couples, a test of your ability to think alternatively. And as always, turn to page 6 to solve a dizzyingly large crossword, this one by Christina Iverson, a games editor. See if you can crack the contest embedded within it. Once you're finished solving everything here, check out Puzzle Mania, the book, now in stores nationwide. It's a collection of our favorite puzzles from this section throughout the years, along with brand new Wordle, connections, and spelling bee challenges, brain teasers, trivia, original crosswords, and much more. Created for solvers of every level, it should have more than enough to tide you over until next year's Puzzle Mania. One note on style, which I was very careful with when promoting the show. It's puzzle. Oh, I missed it. So Puzzle Mania in. So I didn't see it. Puzzle Mania has an exclamation point on the end of the word mania with a space. I thought it didn't have an exclamation point. My initial drafts all included it, and I edited it out. So I will have to go back. I might go back and fix some of those because that's what I do. Here is some of the puzzles: voice commands, baritone, contralto, and soprano. And this is the acrostic. There is a puzzle goulash. Now, when Greg Pliska joined us, this was January 2023, if I'm not mistaken. The Puzzle Mania had clues in each puzzle that led to an overall puzzle, and you had to submit your answer. I think that, from what I understood, the contest is only in. Let's see. Yeah, it's only in the Super Mega puzzle. But here is a view of the Super Mega. Now, what's interesting is both with the Super Mega and with the Sunday edition, which is a larger version, as you may know, and Deb Amlin explained this to us, is that the puzzles get harder as they go through the week from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I haven't done them in a while. I could usually finish Mondays, and I get most of Tuesdays, but Wednesday I start faltering. But the Sunday edition is not harder than Saturday. Saturday is the hardest. Sunday is just bigger. It's I think level of difficulty, I think she said is similar to a Tuesday, but it's just bigger. And I think the same goes for the Super Mega. It's a large puzzle. There are a lot of clues, um, but it's not necessarily harder. They say that the clues appear on page 11. Um, they show kind of how you can do this, and you can also hit your QR code to get more information on the constructor, tips for solving, etc. But that's the super mega puzzle, and they have supersized marching bands. For more, they have triometry, odd couples, a house ad for keeping the fun going by downloading New York Times games. If you're a New York Times games fan, what games do you play? What games do you like? And again, this PDF of Puzzle Mania is available on our website. You can download it, and we encourage you to do so. Um, Getting back to the mental health story that we looked at, Sujana says, dancing like doctoring gives me such mental health and energy, but the added burdens on professional dancers, much like the burdens from administrators on doctors, can be soul crushing. Sujana, I would probably add to that as a physician, um, there is much. You're saying it gives you mental health and energy, but depending on your field, there must be the burden not just that you get from administrators, but on providing care for people. And when you see someone in distress, when you take on that type of emotion, when you see families who are suffering, I'm sure you get a lot of joy in your work as a um, member of the American Otological Society. So you'd be an otologist. AOS. We've produced several shows for you, and we are grateful for that. But also the Neurotology Society. In terms of the ear surgeons, I know that a lot of work that you do is helping people hear for the first time. So there's certainly joy in that, but there's a lot of heartache as well, I'm sure. But certainly interesting comment. Um, on the games, Gunther asks, does the difficulty for Wordle also change over the course of the week? I like Wordle, hence the question. Gunther, that's a good question. I do not know. I hadn't heard about um, Wordle. As you may know, in terms of the origin story, Wordle was invented by a gentleman from England as a kind of a pastime for his wife, and he shared it with friends, and they loved it. New York Times bought it from him, and when I used to play it regularly, I don't think that I noticed a difference um, over time. But if anyone else knows, certainly would be curious if anyone else has experience with that. Um, so the next piece that we want to focus on was the holiday gift guide. Again, the PDF is available on our website. I like the table of contents, if you will, in terms of showing the gift wrapping and the different sections: home and design, style, beauty, food and drink, self care, outdoor and travel, tech, craft and hobby, hard to please, games, kids and teens. That's an important one. Stocking stuffers and expert tips for gift giving. And so, if you look through, this is some of the home and design suggestions that they have. Um, a knife sharpener and whimsical napkins. They have a couple of more here, and then some style. I'm going to focus right here. A sun hat without hat hair. What? That's a big problem for me. So folks know, if you see me post on social media, I will. The only cap I put on my head is a Yankee hat, one of several. But because of the way my hat is, if I put on a hat, my hair's flat after that. Um, and so it's kind of a choice that I'm making for the day. But this is saying hats and hair don't get along, but Wallaroo Sedona is the rare exception that doesn't leave me looking like bozo. It offers an ultraviolet protection factor of 50 plus and folds like a taco for travel. So you might actually pack it for a beach trip. $62 on Amazon from Amy Vership, the travel editor, who's been a frequent guest on the show, particularly when we do 52 places in January. But a sun hat without hat hair is something I would have to think about, and I'd definitely be curious to have our resident expert on hatitude, Jonathan Borstein, weigh in on what he thinks of that hat. Um, excuse me. A few other gift ideas here, and then they have beauty products. I'm not even going to try and make sense of the beauty products, but if that's what you're interested in, I certainly encourage you to check it out. Food and drink. Um, and of course, there are a lot of ads in this section as well. That's not surprising. Self care, some interesting options on self care as well. Um, so I would certainly encourage you to go to our website and download the PDF and check out the New York Times Holiday Gift Guide. Okay, we have just about 10 minutes left in the show. This is the piece I mentioned earlier by Sarah Wildman. And she wrote about this years ago, not years ago, it's maybe been 2 years if I'm not mistaken. I mean, she has a front page opinion story, which I think is great. And the picture is of a mom hugging her daughter. But Sarah wrote very movingly about losing her daughter to cancer 2 years ago. Her daughter, I want to say, was 9 years old at the time. And we followed her story and all the treatments. She has an older sister. Sarah has an older daughter as well. And I'm just glad that she's writing and was able to continue telling these important stories. I want to give my friend Sarah a shout out. Other opinion pieces in this uh, week's Sunday opinion section. Um, Piggy Gets Polite. This is a Maureen Dowd column. If you remember, this is President Trump referred to a female reporter who was asking questions about uh, Mohammed bin Sultan and Khashoggi when he was at the White House. He called her Piggy. And again, I talked about President Trump and the three M's, Mamdani, MBS, and MTG for Marjorie Taylor Greene. But this is the only reference that I've seen so far to the MBS story. Ross, doubt that Trump is down again. His way back up isn't clear. The president has no easy answers for current economic discontent. Nick Kristof has a column, Gifts That Save Lives. Mutual Aid Sudan Coalition is one, and the Heller Keller Institute, Heller Keller International, Vision to Learn. The full quote, feeling powerless, these nonprofits are making our world better. We teach children the long lesson about the Holocaust. That's interesting. Jochen Helbeck, the first they came for story about the Nazis is a distortion. That's interesting. He is a distinguished professor of history at Rutgers and the author of World Enemy Number One, Nazi Germany, Soviet Russia, and the Fate of the Jews. Really curious to see where he's going with that. The hidden logic behind Trump's Saudi fanboy routine. So at least it's in the opinion section about the Mohammed bin Sultan's visit. America is setting a trap for itself by Lydia Palgreen. The U.S., not China, seems determined to upend the global order. And the world's most shameless public figure does it again. Is Tesla a company or is it a Musk enablement organization? What else do we have here? The system. This is Sarah Wildman's piece. The system is meant to break you. What ICE is doing um, to people here legally. Um, Immigration enforcement is changing in this country, and it's actually they gave her the centerfold in 2 pages. If you could see, um, the portrait photography and a picture of the mom with her children, and then on the right hand side, a detention center taking up almost the whole page. Very impressive. The administration intends to capture education for ideological purposes by it's a roundtable discussion. The real Epstein cover up. Um, this is this is the top part. The administration article, our higher education article rather, is the roundtable, and this is with 3 university leaders. Sean Baylock, the president of Dartmouth. Oh, Michael Roth, the president of Wesleyan University. And Jennifer Mnuchin, the chancellor of the University of Wisconsin-Madison, spoke with Ariel Kamener, an editor at Times Opinion. So this is something that certainly I want to pull out as a proud alumni of Wesleyan University. Michael Roth has been outspoken in speaking up against Trump and the administration's bullying of universities, the issues around free speech on campus, etc. Michael Roth has been a great leader for the school and also for higher ed. So definitely want to take a look at that. The sad, dangerous reality behind her. AI's real threat, the atrophy of our ability to forge genuine human connections. Yes, listening to a book counts as reading for all those audiobook fans. Trump promised lower prices. His policies are raising them. That's one of the ironies. And then the last piece, the White House gold rush is on. They came bearing gifts. They left with what they wanted. So that is the opinion section. We're right about 9:30. So this is about the AI crash or the boom that we talked about. And then that New York Times Magazine article, again, that's hard to tell, but this is how the soaring use of antidepressant drugs among teenagers affect their sexual development. As a reminder for folks, I want to make sure that you take a moment to go to our website and get Puzzle Mania. You can download it from our website if you just look for today's show. Digimentors.group, NYTReadalong, and find today's show. And then you can also get the gift guide as well. The show is sponsored by Muck and Graphic History Company. So we want to thank them again for their support. And remind folks that the show is produced by Digimentors, the consulting firm that Sree started with Andrew Lee several years ago. We will catch up with a couple of comments that came in as we were finishing up on the paper. Sujana says that even the hard patient care parts contribute to the humble joy of helping people. Thank you, Sujana. Jonathan says, I'm intrigued and might look into it about the hat. There's a crushable or packable version of just about every hat style, by the way. Thank you for that. And Sujana says, Professor Helbeck is my friend. I got a free copy of that book. Interesting, Sujana. One of the things I want to just share with you, and I certainly would not want to pass this off as my own work, but just a few thoughts about AI and using AI for analysis. One of the things that I like to do is put the same question into multiple platforms, into ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. And earlier in the week, as I'm struggling to figure out, if I start planning the show, I want to try and get the promotion out earlier, but I don't know what topics are going to be really the focus when it comes to Sunday. And I think last week, I was I missed the mark in terms of the promotions, which is fine. So I turned to our AI tools to ask what do you think? What are the top stories right now? What would be a top story on Sunday? And found very different answers across the board for those three platforms for ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. Some didn't understand the question at all. Some said I can't look at New York Times links. ChatGPT couldn't do that, but Perplexity could. I found Gemini to be the the best analysis of that. And so, just for on a lark, I looked at what would Gemini say about this week's news in the 5 minutes before preparing for the show, as we were ready to go live. I thought, well, let me see what they would advise in terms of where the what the content is. What I can say about New York Times coverage, for example. So I asked it, summarize New York Times coverage of these stories in one paragraph, and one paragraph on how does the coverage differ from other outlets. The latest on Ukraine, Trump and Mamdani, Trump and MBS, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the AI boom or bubble. And it took about 3 minutes and gave me some interesting analysis, the latest on Ukraine, the New York Times coverage, compared it to coverage with AP and CNN, and showed how the Times differed. The Trump and Mamdani visit, how they focused on kind of the two guys from Queens story. And the MBS, they focused on the business side of it with the chips, whereas others focused on the human rights implications. It was an interesting way, and then it showed the overall how the New York Times coverage differs. There are responsible ways to use AI if you use it to help your analysis, but it can't be a replacement for analysis. Trust but verify. I almost never. I've uploaded documents to these platforms and asked for a summary, and realized that it's hallucinating. There are items in there that just don't belong. So we still need to figure out how best to use AI to help us do our jobs, but you can't have AI do your job for you. So that was just a little bit of an editorial at the end. We're a few minutes past the hour. We'll see if there are any other comments that have come in. If not, thank you again for joining us for our revamped Sree Sunday New York Times read along. And we certainly look forward to continuing this conversation. We appreciate you spending your morning with us, and we will not be having a show. I should mention this earlier. We won't have a show next week because it's Thanksgiving. We're going to take November 30th off. So hopefully you'll have a good holiday week with friends and family, and we look forward to catching up with you after that. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and thank you again for sharing some time with us this morning. Take care. Bye-bye. Right before I say that, there is a question. Jonathan says, my non-AI generated response is a good show. Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. And Siddharth says, is it possible to make an AI with green data centers? I think that's one of the criticisms, is that the data centers take up a lot of, it's a huge drain on the environment, particularly water usage. So I don't know if that's possible. And that's exactly what he says, like instead of wasting water, maybe a better and sustainable alternative. And Gunther says, thank you for the interesting show. So thank you very much, Gunther. With that, we will end the show. Thank you for spending your Sunday morning with us. Bye-bye.